2020 and the years prior to that were all about the compact and mid-sized SUVs. But 2021 has been all about the 6-7-seater, 3-row SUV, the so-called mid-premium SUV segment. And making all the noise out here has been this one, the Mahindra XUV700. Now, we've tested it on track. We've also proved its quality, speed, reliability on our epic 24-hour speed endurance challenge. Now, it has one task on roads that we know and we love, and that is to rise to the top of its class. Now, I have to point out, this is not a class of two, but we've driven the XUV. We know how good it is. In our opinion, the only SUV that can come anywhere close to it is this one, the Tata Safari. So this video is going to be all about the XUV versus the Tata Safari. But before that, do give us a shout out. Let us know what you think about these two SUVs. And if you enjoy this video, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell icon and stay notified for all our video drops. This is going to be a long and exhaustive video, so we have split it into chapters, and if you want to skip ahead, the chapters are marked below, but we have to start at the start, and that is with the way these SUVs look. Now, remember the time that one image of the XUV700 leaked and the internet went into complete meltdown, you guys screaming and shouting on social media? Now that we've seen the XUV in the metal, it does look good. It does look proportionate and the details are very nice. Now, this new Mahindra logo that debuted on the XUV700, and I've seen it for a while now, but I don't know, it still hasn't grown on me. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. But overall, this is cohesive and I love the details like the sequential turn indicators, the door handles that pop out, the nice big 18-inch alloy wheels. This also looks like the big brother of the XUV500, which is a good thing because that is Mahindra's design lineage being carried forward and obviously being molded and freshened up with time. As for the Tata Safari, I'm not too sure if you can call something macho in this day and age, but the Safari, it does look, it's so muscular, so in your face. I suspect that once the novelty factor of the XUV700 dies down, the Safari will turn a few more heads. But styling is a personal subject. So what do you prefer? Let us know in the comments below. We'll give this both an equal rating on styling and move on to chapter 2, which is the interiors. Step into the XUV700 and the first thing that you notice is this new Mahindra logo staring at you in the face. Look at it long enough and it sort of looks like an alien staring back at you. So don't stare too much at that, but take in the rest of the cabin, which really is fantastic. It's done so well. You have this huge slab of digital real estate that looks very much like what Mercedes are doing in their cars. And the way it has been done, the way these screens are integrated with the black surrounds, it all looks like one big screen, even though in reality it is two separate screens. So it is done really well. The dials, you can configure them, so there are multiple modes for that. The navigation is inbuilt out here, plus it's got multiple menus, lots of stuff out here. It even has a G-force meter. This is something that actually we should have noticed when we did our 24-hour speed endurance challenge to see what G's we were pulling on the bankings. Other things that it has got wireless car charger, it has got wireless CarPlay, Android Auto, but on this car, it hasn't yet been configured. So right now the CarPlay is not working out here. It's got advanced driver assistance system. So it's got active cruise control, emergency braking, lane keep warning, lane keep assist. All of that is out here. And when you don't want it, you can switch it off. One button to switch it off and everything goes off. So it doesn't drive you mad while driving in the city with our chaotic traffic. It's got a massive panoramic sunroof. In fact, they're calling this the sky roof, not a sunroof, because it is so huge. And I can confirm that this is the largest on any car in this class at least. The only thing that I really miss on the XUV700 are seat coolers. Otherwise, it really has everything. Even the adjusters for the electric operation of the seat, that also looks Mercedes inspired. It's got memory. It's only for the driver's seat. The passenger seat is manual as of now. What I should point out are some sore points, like this joint out here. It's not nicely done. It's not finished properly. That should have been done better. But overall, this cabin really takes this class up a notch for sure.
The driver's seat has the easy access function where it slides back when you switch off the XUV to make it easy to get in and out, and it slides back into the last position when you get back into the XUV. The steering adjusts for reach as well as rake for a good driving position, though I'd have preferred the driver's seat to go a little lower. Move over to the second row and you get a bench, no captain seats for now. You can adjust the seat back recline angle but cannot adjust for knee room, though it has to be said that there is enough and more space to make it very comfortable. And finally, the all-important third row. The XUV is also available in a 5-seater variant on the AX3 and AX5 variants, but we have the AX7 here on test. Getting into the back is easy. Use the handle on the left side of the second row to flip and tumble the seat out of the way and climb into the third row. Not too difficult. I am 5 foot 9 inches tall, and for a person of my size, the third row is a bit too snug. The knee room is tight and my head touches the roof. That said, for short journeys, it might not be a big problem. As for the boot space with the third row in place, it is 220 litres, barely enough for one knapsack, but it expands to 1025 litres with the third row folded flat into the floor. Now let's go check out the Safari.
The Safari's cabin is familiar, but it of course has been upgraded over the Harrier. Now this is the adventure persona with the captain seats at the rear, which are really nicely done. You also get this light beige upholstery. You have these gold chrome surrounds for the aircon vents, also for the door handles. That does add a touch of class. What it sticks with is the same 8-inch infotainment screen, and the Apple CarPlay display is actually not the full screen, so it's much smaller. This is something that we had criticized on the Harrier, continues on the Safari. The 7-inch digital cockpit, that was also carried over, and it gets an analog speedo. That works well. I have zero complaints with that. Now, the Safari also has a sport mode, it has an eco mode, and that does make a difference into the amount of torque that goes into the front wheels. What the Safari does really well is comfort. These seats are the most supportive and also the most comfortable in this class. It also gives you that nice solid SUV feel. It also gets this nice meaty steering wheel that gives us a sense of being a proper rugged SUV.
And of course, you get a massive panoramic sunroof that makes the cabin seem even more airy and spacious than it already is. The Safari also gets electrically adjustable seats, and here you can slide the seat lower than the XUV. The steering is also adjustable for reach as well as rake, giving it a nice driving position. The middle row is where the Safari really scores with the 2 captain seats, though you can also specify it with the bench to turn it from a 6 to a 7-seater. The theatre seating, as Tata Motors calls it, means you walk into the Safari and sit nice and high. The seats adjust for the backrest recline angle, and you can even slide it fore and aft for more knee room. This is excellent out here. Extending the rear overhang over the Harrier has delivered the space to accommodate the third row in the Safari. Access to the third row is between the 2 captain seats, which requires a little less gymnastics than folding and tumbling the middle row down. And once there, the Safari delivers more knee room and headroom than the XUV, making it the winner of this round. On boot space with the third row up, the Safari delivers just 73 litres, which is tight even for our knapsack, but it expands to 750 litres with the third row folded flat into the floor. And now on to chapter 3, the driving impressions. Now let's dive into the reason why you watch this channel, the driving experience. We start with the Safari, and this is familiar. We all know that this is a Land Rover derived platform. Tata Motors has made no bones of that fact. In fact, they've gone all over town talking about the Land Rover derived platform. And I must tell you that you can feel that authentic SUV genes in the way the Safari runs down the road. It does feel rugged. So as macho as the exteriors are, similar to is the driving experience. It deals with all kinds of roads with great authority. It just flattens everything in its path. And you really feel very confident in the Safari. You know that if the roads are going to get broken, or if you see a trail going off into the hills, you can take it, no problem. The Safari, it can deal with all of it. Of course, we all know that the Safari is front-wheel drive. It is not all-wheel drive, even though it does have this terrain response mode dial that changes the ESP settings and the throttle mapping. But end of the day, this is front-wheel drive, so this is no off-roader. But as far as the SUVs in this category goes, this does feel the most SUV-like. Another thing that the Safari delivers is this king of the road feel. You have a great driving position, great visibility. In fact, sometime back, we did a story on the Harrier and the Land Rover Discovery Sport, a story to see whether the genes of the Land Rovers are actually there in the Tata cars, which have been derived from the same platform. And truth is that there is some similarity, there is some familiarity between the two. The link is out here. Go check that out. It was a lovely video. It was done just after last year's lockdown. And the Safari, it continues in the same vein. This of course has the same wheelbase as the Harrier, and it is only lengthened at the rear so that it can accommodate the third row of seats. But as we've told you, the third row of seats is the most spacious in this class. I have spent a lot of time with the Harrier. That was my long-term car, and I've driven it all over the country. Know that intimately, and I know that one of its biggest drawbacks was the steering. The same thing applies to the Safari, because the steering, that has hardly been changed from the Harrier. So it feels a little too heavy at city speeds, and it feels a little too light at highway speeds. Plus, there is a lot of feedback that you get. Now, that depends on what sort of a driver you are. Some might like that feedback, but it is a bit too much. So every little rut in the road, it communicates that to the steering. You put your foot down and there is torque steer, and when it is torque steering and if it hits a rut in the road, then the steering catches that rut. So there is too much information coming from the steering. I would have liked it to be a little calmer and a little less enthusiastic. I don't believe I'm saying that, but it is true. That apart, the powertrain is really sorted. This 2-liter diesel engine makes 167.6 bhp of power, 350 Newton meters of torque, mated to the 6-speed automatic gearbox, which is actually very well matched to the torque characteristics of this FCA engine. And overall, this is quick. It's quick enough for our roads, for our conditions. And with the Safari, when you see the roads are getting worse, you don't have to slow down. You can carry the same pace, and neither you nor your passengers are thrown around. Nobody complains. Dynamically, the only real flaw that I can point out is the handling. This, when you throw it around corners, it doesn't put enough weight on the outside front tire. So it starts to understeer very early on. If you drive a little harder through the corners, it's not like you're putting more weight and you can carry more speed, because it'll just understeer even more aggressively. So you have to be a little circumspect, and you have to take it a little easy when you're charging through the hills, because this does not like to be hustled. And in fact, when you start hustling it, the ESP intervenes. You can feel it braking the rear wheels, slowing the car down, making things safer for the Safari. This is also much taller, so you do have a higher center of gravity, and you can feel the effects of it. As a city commuter, it's actually great, but this is also a bit more cumbersome to drive. It does feel a bit too heavy, so in the city, it does take a bit of effort out of you. And the build quality, we've realized that, having spent so much time with the Harrier, the build quality of the Safari and the Harrier are really top notch. First impression of the XUV700 after jumping into this from the Safari is that the steering, it feels extremely light. Now that does make a big difference in the city, where this is extremely easy to drive. Where the Safari feels a bit cumbersome, this is as easy as any other mid-size SUV. There's no worrying about, oh, this is so big, or it'll be so difficult to drive in the city. Nothing at all. It is easy peasy to drive in the city. Of course, the steering weight, you get used to it after a while, but at least would have preferred speed sensitive steering assist, so that at least when you're driving through the hills, it becomes a little heavier, gives you a more planted and a more confident feel. Because in reality, the abilities of the XUV700 are terrific. Really, it's tremendous. Now, first things first, there's this body whose torsional rigidity is better than cars, SUVs from a class above. This was benchmarked against the Skoda Kodiaq, and the torsional rigidity is actually better than the Skoda Kodiaq. The second is the sophisticated suspension that they've used. So at the rear, they not only have a multi-link rear suspension, they've got an additional control blade arm, plus they've got second generation FSD dampers from Koni. All of that gives it tremendous ride capabilities. So over these small bumps and everything, it rides really so well. And as you pick up speed, it doesn't float, it doesn't wallow, it continues to deliver great ride while delivering really excellent handling. For an SUV, for a Mahindra SUV, the handling is phenomenal. The front end response is good. The body roll, of course it is there because this also has to ride well, doesn't it? But the body control is good. The roll is never exaggerated. You're never being thrown all over the place. Your passengers, you, everybody feels confident, safe and secure in the XUV700. The speed that I'm carrying now through the corners is at least 20 kilometers per hour more than the Safari. And plus I'm doing that in confidence because this is not understeering in an exaggerated manner. So I can control the XUV at the limit. When something understeers, you're just a passenger. You just have to wait for the front to regain grip and get you out of there. Whereas with the XUV700, you can push it, you feel in control, and it is fun, it is enjoyable. We had a blast driving this at our 24-hour speed endurance challenge, and out here on the road, of course, we were wondering whether on the road all of those abilities would translate to great dynamic capabilities, and definitely it does. Of course, unlike the Safari, this does not feel as rugged, doesn't feel as butch and macho. So when you hit a trail, you do take it with a bit of caution. Take it a bit easy. Now, I can't tell you for sure on trails which will go furthest, and that really isn't the remit of a front-wheel drive SUV, is it? But overall, for everything that we've been doing today, the XUV is easy, it is capable, it is confident, and it is fun. Now, before I talk about the powertrains, I must talk about the options that the XUV offers. So you have the AX3, you have the AX5, you have the AX7. You know that there's the 5-seater, there is the 7-seater. It has the petrol engine, it has the diesel engine. The diesel engine is in 2 states of tune. What we're driving here today is the petrol. Now this is 200 horsepower, 200 PS of power. So obviously this is going to feel quicker, but we have driven the diesel, and I can tell you the diesel is as quick as the petrol, 0 to 100 in just under 10 seconds. We strapped on our V-Box, we tested it, we got those figures. So it is marginally quicker than the Safari, marginally more responsive, and not marginally, but a fair bit more refined than the Safari's engine. So on the powertrain front, also Mahindra does score an extra point. Oh, another thing I would have liked, paddle shifters for the gearbox, because this is such an enthusiastic engine that you would want paddle shifters to really dial you into the driving experience. I must point out that while this does have all that ADAS features, in India, because of the traffic and the general chaos that there is, the ADAS, it beeps and bongs and all of that all the time because everybody's cutting you from left, right, center. But once you switch it off, unlike other cars like a Merc or a Volvo, where when you restart the car, it all switches back on, this stays switched off. And that's just a sign of how this has been designed and engineered by Indian engineers who know Indian roads and conditions. So they, while testing the XUV, they must have gone mad with this going bing bong all the time in the city. So they've engineered it that once you switch it off, it stays switched off, which is a really good thing. Otherwise, before every drive, you'd be hunting for the button or going through the menus and trying to switch that off. It would have driven you mad. So it has all these safety features, but when you don't want it, you can turn it off. Great thing. In terms of the driving experience, the XUV700 just moves things on in this class. The Safari, it does drive it close, but the other rivals in this class come nowhere close to these two. And that's what I want to talk about in the conclusion of the story.
It will not have missed your attention that the two best mid-premium SUVs today are made by pure homegrown Indian manufacturers. The Mahindra XUV700 and the Tata Safari are a testament to just how much Indian engineering, design, safety has progressed. The XUV700 is the safest car that is made and designed and engineered in India as tested by global NCAP. The Safari, we don't have figures yet, so the XUV700, it wins this test on safety. And that's what I'm saying, that Indian engineering has just moved the game so much further that in this segment, hotly contested segment, our best two SUVs are pure Indian SUVs. So in the past, when we used to beat our chest and go on Indian, that was a bit of jingoism, but today that is based on solid foundations, solid, pure engineering foundations, and also in terms of the quality, in terms of the durability. These manufacturers have proved that they can be as good, if not better, than the best in the world. Of course, in this test, the XUV700, hands down, it is the winner. For the price, the features that it offers, we honestly haven't even spoken about half the features because it just has so many. So on price, on value for money, on ride and handling, on engineering, the XUV700 does move the game on tremendously. But that's not to say that you should not look at the Tata Safari, because if you want, for instance, all 7 seats to be comfortable, the Safari, it does it better. The Safari, it also does that butch, macho feel much better. So the Safari also has a strong base for you to definitely consider it. But bottom line, Tata Motors and Mahindra, man, how they've moved the game forward in this segment. Something to be really proud about.